Welcome, lover. I'm the Naughtie Scribe, author, businesswoman, and your host for the next hour. This live stream is dedicated to love, sex, acceptance, and understanding the lifestyle and ultimate sensuality. Trust me, lover, the knowledge I drop will be straight, no chaser. So sit back and prepare yourself. It's about to get naughty. Welcome, lover. I'm the Naughtie Scribe, author, businesswoman, and your host for the next hour. This live stream is dedicated to love, sex, acceptance, and understanding the lifestyle and ultimate sensuality. Trust me, lover, the knowledge I drop will be straight, no chaser. So sit back and prepare yourself. It's about to get naughty. Welcome, lovers. I'm the Naughtie Scribe, and once again, you've joined us on the Nyce and Naughtie Hour. Now, last week we did a whole show on what the fuck, because it was time to just liven it up a little bit and loosen up after we did a lot of very serious and unfortunately very necessary broadcasts. Well, tonight is going to be a compromise of the two. It's going to be not as heavy as some of our other episodes recently, but it is going to be a little bit on the serious side. So for those of you who've been following me on social media, this is going to be the first of another 3-part series. Yes, you know I love multiples. Hey, sis. Hey, Anita. This is going to be the third part, the first part of a 3-part series. It's going to be about love, life, and finances in the age of the comb-over-in-chief. I don't want to use his name. But that being said, let's jump into our what the fuck moment.
What the fuck?
Okay, lovers, if you are following what's going on at the Supreme Court, we have Neil Gorsuch, who is the nominee for the Supreme Court to take over Antonin Scalia's seat. A diehard conservative, a true constructionist or originalist, federalist, if you will, and I'll talk about what that means later. But let's run into that clip and you'll understand a little more where I'm going with this. First video.
I, Antonin Scalia, do solemnly swear.
The first Italian-American to sit on the nation's highest court, Justice Antonin Scalia was a conservative in thought, but not in personality. Antonin Gregory Scalia was raised in the Elmhurst neighborhood of New York City, the only child of a Sicilian-born college professor and a schoolteacher mother. They instilled in the precocious child a love of words and debate.
I was something of a greasy grind, I have to say. I studied real hard.
He was a top student at public and private Catholic schools in the city. Scalia's interest in law began in college, and so too an interest in Maureen McCarthy, with whom he later married and had 9 children. His exuberant embrace of conservatism attracted the attention of Republicans, and President Reagan ultimately named the 50-year-old federal judge to the High Court in 1986. There, he developed a reputation as a reliable conservative, and his own style helped liven the public face of the High Court.
Some of the other justices, including the justices who were already on the court and had been on the court for a while, were kind of, well, you know, if the new guy gets to ask all these questions, I'm gonna sort of step up and ask some questions too.
On abortion, the death penalty,
Okay, lovers, so I needed you to see that for one main reason. Antonin Scalia, who was appointed to the Supreme Court by Ronald Reagan, was a diehard federalist or originalist. And what that means is that someone in the legal profession who believes that the Constitution is not open to interpretation, but that it should be applied as it was originally intended by our founding fathers. Now, I don't want to get off on too much of a diatribe on that one, but let's be for real here. Our founding fathers were drunks, landowners, adulterers, and most importantly, slave owners. Okay, so to actually interpret the Constitution that was written over 200 years ago and apply it to our modern time without any interpretations whatsoever, no, lovers. And you're going to understand later in the show when we break it down how the Supreme Court affects our everyday life. And that's why the tagline on tonight's episode is, it's not political. It ain't political. It is personal, because the decisions made by these 7 individuals affect our everyday life. It allows the police certain powers or tell them they don't have certain powers. It allows our government to do things to us or not do things to us. It allows us to monitor ourselves on how we act and react to our fellow citizens. So yes, lovers, the Supreme Court has an effect on our everyday life. And one of the reasons that we're doing this show tonight is, again, you know, I have a little group that I bounce ideas off of, and we get into deep discussions. And I was a bit disappointed, I must say, because it really pissed me off to see how lackadaisical or laissez-faire individuals are when it comes to Supreme Court. It's as if it's something over there that doesn't affect me. And later in the show, we're going to talk about how damn well the Supreme Court affects us, not 100 years ago, not 200 years ago, today. Okay? So let's start off with how the fuck we even got into this situation. Hey, Maria Mama Bear Hicks, our patron saint. So this is how we got here. Antonin Scalia, as you saw in the clip, passed away several months ago. Well, actually, it's been a little over a year ago now. Antonin Scalia passed away at the age of 79. The court, before his passing, was 4 conservatives, 4 what you consider liberals, and 1 that's sometimes a switch like me. Okay? And that's what we have. And there's a reason that the Supreme Court is not supposed to be 8 or 6 or 4. It's a reason that it is 9 individuals. It's 9 individuals because it prevents a tie. If there is a tie decision, it means there's no decision, which means the lower court's decision is the one that rules. That's why we have a Supreme Court, because some jurisdictions might decide one way, some jurisdictions might decide another way, but when the law is supposed to be applied equally and fairly across the land, you have to have one court that breaks all ties, that hears the cases and says, no, this is what it's going to be for everybody, not just for you in North Carolina and you in D.C. This is what it's going to be for everyone. Hey, Miss Sharon. Now, some of you see me doing shout-outs, and you know why. The first segment of the show, we always try to do it on Facebook Live. So for my lovers who are joining me there, hey. So that's how we got here. Unfortunately, Antonin Scalia did pass away. Now, here's the fucked up part about that whole situation. Barack Obama was still president. He had a little over a year to go before the elections that just happened. Why does that matter? You may have heard of a gentleman called Merrick Garland. Can we get that picture, darling? There's Merrick Garland. He is one of the few nominees that Barack Obama could have pulled that literally got passed as a federal judge, because before you can hit the Supreme Court, you must at least have been a federal judge. Well, not necessarily, but that's normally how they pick it. A federal judge is nominated by a president and voted on by the Senate. This man, Merrick Garland, actually got bipartisan support. The Republicans, most of them who are there right now, approved this man to sit on the federal court, just one level below the Supreme Court. They said, yeah, he's cool. We like the way he votes. Democrats said, hey, he's cool. We like the way he makes decisions too, and he applies the law. Hey, Jeremy. So they decided, okay, we all can get together. Doesn't happen a lot in this area and on the Hill, so you know he really must have been a cool kid for both parties to say, yeah, and he passed with almost near unanimous vote to hit the lower court. Fast forward to about a year ago after Antonin Scalia passes. Now, mind you, The same motherfuckers who are sitting in these seats who said he was as good as sliced bread or a good cigarette after a nice sex session, these same bastards then turned around and said, no, since Obama nominated him, the people should have their say. The people should be able to weigh in. Now, forgive me, maybe it's just me, but I'm thinking when you vote a motherfucker in the White House twice and he still has over a year to go before it's his turn to leave office, I'm thinking America has spoken. They wanted this black man in office not once but twice. Sorry, Mitch McConnell. It wasn't his Waterloo. He wasn't a one-time president. And I'm shouting out Mitch McConnell, motherfucker, turtle-looking bitch, for a reason. It was he who spearheaded the idea that has never, not under even the worst times, he decided that with over a year to go, he was going to hold up the nomination of Merrick Garland, someone he even said was highly qualified for the position. In fact, not only did they not bring up this man for a hearing and at least be on the record of shooting him down, they didn't even meet with him. He literally, there are news reports, pick up YouTube and type it in. There are news reports showing Merrick Garland going from one Republican Senate office to another, and they wouldn't even fucking open the door to let him in or say hello. That's how low these bastards were. Why? Because they were pressed, hoping and praying that, now of course nobody thought it was going to be Trump. Hey Sharkita, hi Quatis. Miss Larry, you just left here. She's watching in the car, bad girl. But Larry is my sister in broadcast. She has the show before me, so you got to check it out. But the point is that everyone thought he was great until the black man sitting in the office, you know, the one from Kenya, they decided because he nominated him, all of a sudden Merrick Garland wasn't qualified. And not only was he not qualified, these same bastards then turned around when it looked like Hillary Clinton might win and said, we don't need 9 justices on the Supreme Court. I kid you not. It's been all over the news. Google his shit. Especially that turtle motherfucker, Mitch McConnell. Looks like he whacks off with the wrong head. But they literally said that if Hillary Clinton was elected, they were going to leave that seat vacant. They were not going to put in another justice. So understand why so many people are upset about this, because there is no technicality. This seat should have been filled over a year ago by Merrick Garland, who had bipartisan support, who was not political, who even Trump's nominee, Gorish, said what was done to him wasn't fair, and he is a good man and an excellent jurist. So you have the guy who's going to take this seat because the Democrats can't stop it. Hey, Sharkita. They're saying this guy who's about to take this man's seat says he's cool. Now, think about it this way. You go interview for a job. Somebody, let's say Hitler, nominated you, but you are totally qualified for this job and you're a perfect fit. Everybody thinks you're great, but because we don't like Hitler, sorry, we're not going to consider you for the job. In the meantime, somebody else that we do like nominates another person, Samantha. So they nominate Samantha to be Supreme Court judge. She has bipartisan support. But the guy who was originally nominated by the Hitler bastard we didn't like, he actually has to come out and say, you know what? I understand politics. I'm going to step back. In the meantime, Samantha is looking at this person who she has worked with before. She knows in legal circles and has to sit there and say, you know what? I'm sorry this is happening. Now, this is just me. I'm thinking if you really are that principled, then what Gore should have said is, you know what, Mr. Trump, I appreciate you having confidence in me to do right on the Supreme Court, but because of the way Merrick Garland was treated, I cannot in all good conscience and principle take this seat. Now, that's me in fairy tale land or La La Land, you know, hands up to the movie, where everything would be fair and people of decent hearts, mind, and principle would take a stand over some outlandish bullshit. But since this is the D.C. area, since Congress and Republicans in particular have lost their fucking minds, especially because a black man got in the office. So all the things that they're hollering and whooping about now about give the president a chance, we shouldn't hold up. I love that part. We shouldn't hold up this nomination. You guys loved him, you know, when he was up for federal court. Didn't you motherfuckers say the same thing about Merrick Garland? And yes, there is a push. There's actually threats against Democrats who are sitting on these hearings to not nominate, to do exactly what the Republicans said they would do if Hillary had gotten office. We're going to leave it as a 4-4 split, meaning that sometimes you're really not going to like the decisions are made because it'll be a liberal, maybe the Ninth Circuit, who gets to make the decisions, whose rulings will stand. This will teach you motherfuckers to stop playing politics and partisanship with our country and patriotism. Now with that, we're going to hit our first quick break, and we'll be right back in one. Welcome back, lovers. I'm the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you've joined me on the Nyce and Naughty Hour. Now, can we get that picture up of Neil Gorish? Because I know people are going crazy like, what does this motherfucker look like? Okay, this is Neil Gorish. And again, he is the conservative, but so far not an ultra, crazy person. But this man was nominated by Donald the comb-over-in-chief. So I'm just saying, lovers, you kind of have to look at who's referring who. Now, again, the GOP threatened to keep this seat open because they decided it was Scalia's seat. No, motherfuckers, it's not anybody's seat. It belongs to whoever the president feels deserves to be in that seat. And this is truly a Merrick Garland seat. And that tag is going to stay with Neil Gorish no matter what. He is going to forever be the Chief Justice that got in on a stolen seat. Okay, so I'm just letting you know, lovers, that some shit happens that ain't fair. I'm gonna wrap up with my lovers on Facebook Live. It looks like my phone's running hot, so we're getting ready to let them go. I keep forgetting to pull this thing out some. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up with them, and I'm coming back to you in just 2 seconds, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, lovers. So now that we've had our what the fuck moment, how did we get here? Let's talk about a little bit about what it really means for us that this Supreme Court nominee is being made and by the person it's being made by. Now, please understand again, and I can't emphasize this enough, this is not something you watch on the news that has no effect on your life. I know there are individuals thinking, wait a minute, Naughtie, I got to worry about my bills. I got to worry about feeding my kids. I got to worry about getting to work. I got to worry about if I have a job. Now they're fucking with my health care. But remember, health care was blocked by the Republicans. The only reason that we have even Obamacare at this moment is because it went to the Supreme Court. Remember, lovers, that there were a lot of Republican and conservative groups who found individuals that they could use to launch a legal suit in the Supreme Court against Obamacare. And it was, in fact, oh God, I forgot his name. Chief Justice, help me out. Okay, it's not Kennedy, but yes, current. I can't think of his name, and I'm looking at his face. But it was the Chief Justice who John Roberts. Thank you. See, that's why we have an excellent engineer. He shouts shit out for me when I have a fart moment, brain fart. But anyway, thank you, Jacob. But yes, Chief Justice Roberts is actually a Republican justice appointed by George Bush W, the one that got us in the wars. This is the motherfucker who saved Obamacare. He's the one that went against what all the other Republican think tanks and talking heads and neocons wanted him not to do, and he said no. You know, it doesn't look right on this issue, but on this issue, yeah, it's legal. So it's the land of the law. Law of the land. And that is why 20 million people today have health care. Not because Republicans gave a damn about you, not because the Commander-in-Chief gave a damn about you, but because a black man in office pushed through something that every Democratic president and a couple of Republicans have tried to get passed. He finally did it, and after everything the Republicans tried to do, thought they had the Supreme Court wrapped around their finger in their back pocket. It was a conservative appointed justice, Chief Roberts, said, no, it's constitutional, it's legal, we're going to let it go. Now it's law. And the only way that this can now be undone is for the Congress to, again, repeal and replace. And I love this saying because I've seen a lot of commentators do it on TV, so I'm going to have to snatch it. The Republican Party are now the dog that caught the car. And I love it because for them, it was easy to sit in the cheap seats and bitch and complain about all the things that were wrong with Obamacare. But one little tip for you lovers that the Republicans never talk about, some of the things that were wrong with Obamacare were quick fixes. They were easy budgetary fixes, and the Republicans refused to do it. Why? Because they wanted the talking point. They wanted to go back and say, you didn't get to keep your doctor. You didn't get, your insurance went up. Bad Obamacare. If you put us back in office, if you give us your money, we're going to take care of that for you. Well, here's a news flash, lovers. They got all three houses. They got the Congress. They got the Senate. And now with the Commander-in-Chief, they actually have somebody who's so dumb, he doesn't know what the hell he's signing. As long as you tell him it'll make you look good, he'll sign anything that the Republicans want. An empty suit for the most part with a Twitter account. They finally have somebody in there who will pass just about anything they put in front of him. So, of course, they thought, okay, we'll put anything in front of him. We promised America we would repeal Obamacare, and that's what we're going to do. But here's the problem, lovers. It's easy to tear something down. It's a lot harder to build it or put it together. And now the Republicans are finding out, and I love the quote. I wish I had snatched a copy of it. When Donald, the Commander-in-Chief, stands in front of a press conference and says, well, who would have thought healthcare was hard? Really? Who would have thought coming up with a healthcare plan that covers as many Americans as possible, that allows children up to 26 to remain on their parents' insurance, which, let me tell you, in my household means a lot, that prevents the insurance companies for kicking you off of the insurance because you're actually sick, that keeps them from capping you if you cost them a little too much money because you're sick, but you're paying them all this money when you're not sick, and they don't seem to have a problem with that. These things the Republicans don't want to talk about. And here's the problem that they're having. These are also the parts of Obamacare that are the most popular. I was saying it today in my office. I cannot believe that Obamacare is more popular now that Obama's out of office than it was when he ever was in it. And why is that? Because everybody, most of the people who were shouting and beating their chests, we got to get rid of this thing. It's drowning in the bathtub. It's terrible. It's hurting small businesses, blah, 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 blah. We need to get rid of Obamacare. Just not my insurance. And then someone told them, hey, when Obamacare goes, so does your insurance, because guess what you're getting that's called something else? It's Obamacare. Now, all of a sudden, individuals are like, well, wait a minute, hold up. Yeah, I voted for Trump, but I didn't mean for them to get rid of my insurance. Just those quote-unquote lazy people who come over here and go to the emergency room and cost us all kinds of problems and expenses. Those are the people who are supposed to lose their insurance, not me. Well, sorry, lovers, they can't pick and choose racists that are going to lose their insurance. Once they get rid of Obamacare, and they're trying like hard to do it, according to the Congressional Budget Office, 14 million people, that means people I know and love and people you know and love, will no longer have insurance by 2018. That means in 1 year. So it's not something that won't affect you. In 4 more years from that, 2020, 2024, 24 to 26 million people total will no longer have insurance. And here's the word game that the Republicans are playing. They're saying, well, we're never about covering a lot of people. We're about making sure that everyone has access. Access. Understand the word access. Access means I can drive by an airport. I have access on the road. It'll take me past an airport, past Reagan National. That doesn't guarantee that I can get an airline ticket and get on the damn plane. And that's the difference. Obamacare gave you a seat on the plane. The Republican plan just guarantees you get a chance to ride past the airport. And this is what you guys voted for. This is why what's going on right now makes a difference, because it affects our everyday life. And if you don't believe that, take a look at this next clip. This is regarding the Loving versus Virginia case.
On this Valentine's Day 2012, a lot of young people coming up right now may not be able to fathom what happened to a couple named Richard and Mildred Loving back in the 1950s. Their interracial marriage was declared illegal and they were banished from their home state. Now, more than 50 years later, their name is forever attached to a big Supreme Court case, and their landmark love story is being told. Our report tonight from NBC's Rahema Ellis.
For Richard and Mildred, it was love at first sight, but it was also a crime when they married 54 years ago and wanted to live in Virginia. They were arrested at home in the middle of the night.
They asked Richard who was that woman he was sleeping with. I said, I'm his wife, and the sheriff said, not here, you're not.
Their struggle to live together in a state that outlawed interracial marriage is the focus of a new HBO documentary, The Loving Story. Richard and Mildred Loving were convicted and exiled from Virginia for 25 years. This soft-spoken, unassuming couple never intended to make history. They just wanted to raise their 3 children together.
She didn't want to be a Rosa Parks, and no, he didn't want to be a Martin Luther King. I think the world needs to know that it was because of my parents. I'm sorry. That they can marry any race that they want.
The civil rights movement gave the Lovings hope. Phil Hirschkopf argued on their behalf before the U.S. Supreme Court. The result? A landmark ruling in 1967, striking down the last of the segregation laws against mixed-race marriage.
The court was ready for us. They would not any longer tolerate such a deprivation of rights.
After Richard and Mildred's death, director Nancy Bursky felt compelled to document the couple's defiance.
It was a story about race, but it was also such a profound love story.
And a story of reluctant heroes.
How would you describe your mom and dad?
Very loving, stern, private, but with great determination.
Maybe we'll lose the small battles and win the big war.
The film reveals a compelling portrait of the Lovings, who helped change America by simply living up to their name. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
Again, lovers, it was the Supreme Court that decided that Loving versus Virginia, that it was not illegal to marry someone of a different race. And if you think that has no effect in your lives now, how many people do you know are in interracial marriages, interracial relationships? Hell, how many people do you know now are in same-sex relationships? Okay? That was illegal, and that was not 50 or 60 years ago. That was just 10 years ago, basically. So I'm telling you, lovers, you have to understand that what's going on right now does affect your life just as easily as it affected the Lovings when they were told they were arrested. They were put on trial. They literally had to go to the Supreme Court. They were exiled. Understand this. Exile is some shit that happens in Europe. Kings and queens exile motherfuckers out of their kingdoms. We don't exile people out of states. This is the United States. You're supposed to, as long as you are a U.S. citizen, you have the right to travel anywhere unaccosted, unmolested, unharassed in the United States, anywhere, as long as you are obeying the laws and you haven't done anything to harm anyone else. All these people did was have 3 kids, and he married her. Think about this. They were married, had children, did what, quote unquote, the American dream is. Find love, find happiness, live the American dream. 2.5, hell, they had a whole extra half a kid, okay? These people lived their lives in the most gracious and noble way, and they were exiled. They were kicked out of Virginia. Understand what I'm saying? They were kicked out of the state, not the county, not their house, not the street, not a club, not a church. They were fucking kicked out, exiled from the state of Virginia. In the United States, were they criminals? No. What they did was they fell in love. And someone forgot to tell them that it was apparently inhumane to love another human being who just had a little extra color in their skin. So again, the reason that was abolished, the reason that was found unconstitutional was because the Supreme Court decided that it violated one of the 4 core rights that we have in the Constitution. Now, there are a lot of rights and a lot of things in the Constitution, do's and don'ts, but there are 4 basic rights that every U.S. citizen is supposed to be afforded protection of under the Constitution, and I'm going to run through them real quick. The first one is the right of life. Not only do you have the right to take a breath, to actually live, it can be and is a federal crime, we call it murder, to take someone's life. So you actually do have a constitutional right. If you were a live birth, you made it, it is illegal. And no, I don't want to hear from my right to lifers or my women's choice. We ain't getting to that kind of conversation tonight. I'm just talking about what the Constitution right now protects. And it protects that if you were a live birth, you are now considered a human being. And you are also considered, if you're born in United States of America, or our territories, you are considered a U.S. citizen, and the Constitution protects you at the moment of birth. Which means that anyone that does anything to you, whether you're 2 seconds old or 2 seconds from the grave, if anyone does something to you that costs you your life, it is a violation of your civil rights and it is a federal crime. And why does it make a difference that we say it is a violation of your civil rights in the Constitution? I'm sure some of you have seen in court cases where, let's say, cop shooting, someone has died erroneously, unfairly, unjustly. But wink and nod, somehow they never get prosecuted because, you know, it's natural to fear people that are darker than you. You're supposed to shoot them on sight. At least that's what the court cases keep saying. But I digress. You will then see a federal charge come up saying, what? You violated that person's civil rights by killing them. They have a constitutional right to life. So again, lovers, it is illegal to kill someone, not just because it's illegal federally or locally. It is a protection of the Constitution. But it doesn't just protect us from someone coming to kill us. The right to life gives us also the right to live our lives the way we want to. It means that there are people who don't agree with the Nyce and Naughtie Hour. There are people who do not agree with the Naughtie Scribe. But under the Constitution, I have the right to do this shit right here because it's my choice to live my life a certain way. I don't have to live my life the way the Commander-in-Chief says I need to live it. I don't have to live my life the way my mama say I should live it, though she's actually pretty proud of me. It says I have the right to live my life in a manner that I believe is right, as long as it does not infringe on someone else, meaning that I'm not interfering with the way someone else wants to live their life. I'm not causing harm to that person's life in any sense of the word, including literally. And that I'm not infringing upon someone else's liberties. As long as I'm not doing those things, I can do pretty much what the fuck I want to do. That's what the right to life means. The next right that we're going to talk about is something that I hear a lot of my friends equate with other areas of the country, but it affects us here in DC too. And that's the right to hold property. Under the Constitution, you don't have a right to be given property. No. No one owes you a house. No one owes you 40 acres and a mule. Sorry I had to go there, but no. No one owes you that. But if you earn through legal means, the income to buy that 40 acres and a mule, the Constitution says the government can't come to you and say, you know what, we need that land to build a house. We're just going to kick you the fuck off of it. No. With very few exceptions, the government cannot come and take your property from you. Now, of course, if you break some laws, you kind of forfeit some shit. Eminent domain applies, but even eminent domain, the courts make the government show that if they don't take your property, it is a damage to the community as a whole, not just some developer who wants to kick a black woman out of her house. Yes, referring to the Commander-in-Chief, but I digress. That's the point of your right to hold property. As long as you earn the ability to pay for that property, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, whether it's the clothes on your back, the shoes on your feet, whatever it is, that is your property. And the government does not have the right, except under very, very few circumstances, to take that property from you. So that is a protection under the Constitution. So yes, lover, unless you're getting repo because you haven't been paying them bills, nobody can come take your car from you, not a government entity. Another one is your right to liberty. Now, liberty gets confused a little with the right to life, but what liberty means is that you have freedom. Freedom to travel wherever you want in this country. Because you are a U.S. citizen, you have the right to do that. You don't have to stay in Virginia or get kicked out like the Lovings did and try to figure out where you're going to live your life. I have the same rights in D.C. that I have in Virginia, that I have in Hawaii, that I have in Puerto Rico, because that is, yes, lovers, a U.S. territory. As long as I am within the United States jurisdiction, it doesn't matter where I am. My rights to freedom and my rights under the Constitution apply. Why does that make a difference? Because under this new administration, they are trying to work the legal system to say that if you are not a U.S. citizen, the Constitution does not apply to you. And why does that make a difference? It means that it's easier to kick people out of this country because you can say they don't have any protections under the Constitution. If they have protections under the Constitution, it means they have due process. It means they have a right to go before a court, a magistrate, a judge, and say, wait a minute, what they're doing to me is unfair. We need a third party who is unbiased to referee this and make a decision one way or the other. If you are not a citizen of the United States, quote unquote, you don't have the protections. There are others who say in the legal system that, wait a minute, if you're living in the United States and you are contributing to the United States, then the Constitution applies to you. So again, this is going to be something that's going to be revisited by the Supreme Court. Who is actually protected under the Constitution. We know native-born individuals are covered by the Constitution, but according to the Commover-in-Chief, so-called anchor babies should not be covered, and they should be able to be deported with their families whose original crime was coming into the country illegally. Now, you know how I feel about that, lovers. If my child is starving and it's not safe where I'm living, I'm going to fucking go where I need to go and do what I need to do for my family. That said, once I get there, I'm going to obey the laws. I'm going to stay under the radar. I'm going to do everything that I need to do so that my family can continue to stay where they're safe, where they're fed, where they have medical attention, and where, yes, they can prosper. And to me, that's not a black, white, pink, purple issue. That's just a humane issue. So it does matter because these rights are being decided by the Supreme Court. And so it matters who's being nominated, and it also matters who's putting them there. So the fact that under most circumstances, my gut tells me I should like Neil Gorish, who is the gentleman about to take the stolen seat. The fact that Trump, I said his name, sorry. The fact that the Commover-in-Chief has nominated this individual gives me pause. Because that tells me there's something about the way he would decide cases that would not necessarily be favorable to people who don't look like them. That's all I'm saying on that one. Just a gut feeling. I'm a little iffy. We'll see. The next right that I want to discuss is the pursuit of happiness. And that's the big one that we had a lot of cases that was decided on within the last few years, which involve gay rights. The pursuit of happiness means that I have the right to love, to be loved, and to pursue the things that will bring me happiness and joy, meaning my career, meaning writing, whatever it is that gives me joy in my life. I have the right to pursue that, to do everything I can to catch that dream, as long as it does not hurt or harm someone else. Again, all of our rights are contingent on that one basic fact, that it does not impede on someone else. And when it does, or when there's a question on whether or not it impedes on someone else's right, this is what ends up in the Supreme Court. For instance, we just had the Hobby Lobby case. Some of you have heard the name. What you may not understand is that the owners of Hobby Lobby are very, very strict Christian people. They own a lot of Hobby Lobby stores, which are these craft stores, kind of like Michael's. They have employees. When Obamacare went into effect, they didn't have a problem with providing insurance, but what they did not want to do is provide birth control. And part of what Obamacare allowed was for birth control and women's reproductive health to be covered, just like we cover those little blue pills for men, and nobody seemed to have a problem with that one. The owners of Hobby Lobby case went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, wait a minute. By forcing the owners, who are very Christian and believe that birth control is a form of abortion, that their rights to practice religion in the way they believe was being infringed upon. So basically, it is violating their religious rights to force them to pay for their workers who want to buy birth control. It even got to the point where if these individuals go out on their own and purchase birth control, can they still be subsidized? Meaning that, okay, I went out, I didn't spend your money, I spent my money to go get my birth control. So you shouldn't have an issue with that. But I'm now entitled to a little extra because I did have to go into my pocket to spend money. The Supreme Court said no, that was still forcing the owners of Hobby Lobby to violate their religious rights. Therefore, birth control under religious convictions, healthcare can be denied to your employers. So employees, so think about it this way. If you are Jewish, if you're a Muslim, if you're atheist, if you're a Christian, and you think, I don't want any kids, but I still want to have sex, don't work for Hobby Lobby, because you're not going to get birth control, not through your health insurance. You can get health insurance that allows you to have it, but you have to leave that job because their religious rights are being infringed upon. Doesn't matter if yours are. You're an employee. You got to bounce. Okay? That, again, was a Supreme Court decision decided just a couple of years ago. Okay, so we're going to take one more break, and we're going to break down some other cases for you. Welcome back, lovers. This is the Naughty Scribe, and once again, you're on your judicial episode of the Nyce and Naughty Hour. So, our resident lawyer-to-be is giving me high fives. Yay. Okay, so we're going to break down some laws to you and some cases to you, and I promise you, it's going to go quick, but it's important for you to understand just how much the Supreme Court affects our everyday life. Remember, this is part one of a three-part series on life, love, and finances in the age of Trump. What does this man's presidency really mean for you right now? Not to someone else, to you. And yes, it does matter, which is why the tagline is, it ain't political, it's personal. Okay, the first case we're going to talk about real quick is, I'm going to mess up the name, Oberfell versus Hodges. Basically, it was a 2015 case decided 4-5, meaning 5 justices approved it, 4 justices were against it. There we go at that 9, no tie. And it basically said the same-sex marriage is legal across all 50 states. Again, all 50 states, same-sex marriage is legal. This was only 2 years ago, lovers, when this was decided, because remember, some states legalized gay marriage, but some states did not, which meant that if me and Judy got married in D.C., but found us a nice little house in Arizona, we had the money to pay for it. We have good jobs waiting for us in Arizona. The second we landed in Arizona, our marriage would not be considered legal. But if I married James and moved to Arizona, same situation, new jobs, nice house and whatever, all the legal rights that a married couple would have in D.C. would follow me to Arizona. Why does that make a difference? Here's why, lovers. Because gay couples were not considered true couples, if I had property that I bought with my female partner that we've been together for 80 or 90 or whatever years, we bought property together, that property could be taken away from my partner because she was not protected as my spouse. I could not, however, have someone walk up and take away my property from my husband because it is considered marital property. It is part of our community property. So that is why if one spouse dies, the next legal recognized kin is the surviving spouse. After the surviving spouse, it is the children, and after that, it is close relatives such as siblings. But that's where the problem lies, lovers. At one point, partners who one may have been sick, another partner comes to make decisions for them. If they were of the same sex, you could not make a medical decision for someone that you live with and love. For instance, if a wife goes into a hospital and her husband is dying of cancer, she can make the decision to take him off of life support. If, however, at that time, a man was in the hospital dying of cancer and his male lover came to the hospital and according to his wishes said, no, my boo doesn't want to do this anymore, take him off of life support, no one had to listen to you because you were not a legally recognized married couple. So the same rights that would apply to a man and a woman did not apply to a man and a woman and a woman. And this wasn't 50, 60, 70 years ago, lovers. This became law 2 years ago. So please understand that. Another one that a Supreme Court decision was the United States versus Windsor. It was decided in 2013. It said the federal government must provide benefits to legally married same-sex couples. Again, this was in 2013. What does that mean? It means that everything that a man and woman would be entitled to, the protections under the federal government, are also now provided to people of the same sex. Meaning, again, if you have property together that you bought together, if you have made end-of-life decisions as a couple, if you have finances as a couple, it is considered with the same protection as it would if you were a man and a woman. So again, this wasn't something arcane that just came about 80 or 90 years ago and no one gives a fuck. This is just a decision made by the Supreme Court 4 years ago. Another case, Shelby County versus Holder, Eric Holder, then the Attorney General under Obama. It says states and localities do not need federal approval to change voting laws. Now remember, lovers, this was when the Supreme Court stripped away a right of the Voting Act, which basically said certain states, we all know where they are, who had a history of doing some bigoted shit to make sure that non-white people didn't exercise or have the right to exercise their constitutional right to vote, started doing shit as soon as the Supreme Court passed that ruling, started pulling little shit like closing down voting booth areas, getting rid of souls to polls, which is when a lot of minorities would go to vote, early vote on Sundays, restricting the number of polling sites, meaning that literally one state got rid of half of the polling areas where people could go to vote in minority areas, urban areas. They decided that that millions of people didn't need to vote, but a couple of thousand people in the rural areas, code for white, they needed extra places to vote. So this is the shenanigans that's gone on. All these voter ID initiatives you've been hearing, that's because this Supreme Court with Justice Roberts pulled this bullshit and stripped out one of the main provisions in the Voting Act, which said that prior to an election, states could not change the rules on voting. And if you were of a state that has a history of doing some shenanigans when it comes to voting, you have to get approval from the government. You have to get approval from the Justice Department before you can make any changes so that they could review it and make sure that there were no shenanigans going on. So again, lovers, this is how this affects us every day. I'm going to go over just a couple more. National Federation of Independent Business versus Selbius. This upheld the mandate that most Americans have health insurance. This was the ruling that saved Obamacare. It basically said, wait a minute. The way the insurance law was written and implemented by Barack Obama was not illegal. It was not violating anyone's constitutional right. Now, here's the problem that I have with this whole healthcare issue that's going on now, so I am going to take a quick sidetrack. There are two things everybody in this world is going to do. They're going to be born, most of us, but if you make it, guess what else is going to happen? Your ass is going to die. You're going to live, you're going to die. All of us walking around here now, those are two things we're going to have in common. We were born and we're going to get buried somewhere, hopefully somewhere nice. But those are two things that are going to happen. In between those two extremes, we get sick. Shit happens. We get hit by cars. We find out we have heart murmurs. We find out we have AIDS. We find out we have something. We don't have anything but just getting older means we got arthritis. We have vitamin deficiencies. We have bladder control issues, whatever. But as we live and breathe, something happens to us. So guess what we need? We need health care. We are one of the few countries in the world that doesn't offer universal health care. Everybody else understands live, eat, shit, and die. Those are the things that human beings do. Everyone does it. It doesn't matter how rich or poor you are. Everyone is going to need health care at some point in their lives. I don't care how young and strong and invulnerable you think you are. You could be living your life perfectly well, and some asshole who's been drinking runs a red light and knocks you the fuck out. Guess what you're going to need? And it ain't going to be a blunt, though it might help a little bit. But I'm just saying, you're going to need health care. So this whole debate on whether people should have access, meaning, yeah, you can look at a couple of insurance plans, doesn't mean you're going to be able to afford it, or should we have a universal payer, meaning that basically everybody's going to be on a version of Medicaid, we're going to pay a little extra in taxes, but everybody who is a U.S. citizen is going to have health care. Why is that a big issue? Why are we fucking around over making sure that people stay healthy as long as they can and that they get care when they're not? Seems not only unfair to me, but when I hear a lot of these quote-unquote evangelists and Christians talking this GOP bullshit, I'm thinking, what God are you following? Because the God that I know, he said, take care of the least of these, because it's like you're taking care, because by the way you take care of them is the way you love me. You show your love of me. So I'm just saying, it's something really fucked up when you got holier than thou people who don't want two people of the same sex married, at the same time have no problem taking health care away from millions of people who just, again, don't always look like them. Before we wrap, I'm going to do one more. This one hits me a little personally. It was the District of Columbia versus Heller. It was decided in 2008, 5-4 decision. And it decided that citizens have a right to possess firearms at home for self-defense. Now understand this, lovers. In D.C., up until 2008, it was illegal to own a firearm in the District of Columbia. You could not own a firearm in D.C. Doesn't matter if it was in your home or not. You were not allowed to own a gun. Only police, military, and certain security professionals were allowed to own a gun in the D.C. limits. Didn't say you couldn't buy one, said you couldn't own one. We even had a famous reporter by the name of Roland, I forgot his first name, who actually was charged for shooting someone who was breaking into his house. Why did he have to go before court? Because he had an illegal firearm in his house. So understand this. I shoot a motherfucker who's breaking a law by trying to break into my house, and I'm the one that has to go before a judge because the gun I used was illegal for me to possess. This is one time where the Republicans jumped in and said, no, the right to bear arms is a constitutional right. Took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you're absolutely right. D.C., you cannot restrict people from having a firearm in their home for self-defense. We don't have concealed permit. We cannot carry that gun outside in our backyard or out in the street and get caught with it. But if you break into my house, I can now shoot your ass without having to go to jail on a humble just for having the gun. So again, lovers, this is how, and these are just some of the cases that affect our everyday life when it comes to the Supreme Court. And these were decisions, again, made by the Supreme Court. So keep that in mind when you say, oh, that's some bullshit, and you think you're walking down the street and it's not going to affect you. Because one of the laws, and this is going to be my last one for tonight, but where is it? Hold on one second, because this one everybody knows. Here it is. 1966. I should have been able to find that one easy because that was the year I was born. 50 years ago, just 50 years ago, there was a famous case called Miranda versus Arizona. And basically that law decided that prisoners must be advised of their rights before the police can question them. That is where your Miranda rights come from. A 1966 Supreme Court decision. So understand this, lovers. If your ass got arrested before 1966, you had no rights. The police could do what they wanted to you. They could say whatever they wanted to you. Some say you still don't have any rights. Not going to go there. But if now the police get information out of you and they didn't give you your right to remain silent, yada, 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 guess what? All the information they got from you is considered illegal fruit, and they throw it out of court. It cannot be used against you. So again, lovers, once again, it makes a difference what's going on with this administration and their nominee. Watch C-SPAN every now and then. Look at CNN, MSNBC. Just be aware. Okay? So with that, lovers, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Nyce and Naughtie Hour. Next week, we're going to get into love and how this administration could possibly affect with the way you love, how you love, and your ability to love. So with that, remember, life's nicer when it's naughty, and we'll see you next week.